Hello, everybody. Welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all having a great day. If I sound a little out of it, I just woke up. I didn't sleep well. I'm just warning you beforehand that my words might not all be there at the exact same time. It's awful when you don't sleep properly. It just doesn't make any sense. So, don't forget to leave a like on the video. It's a free and easy way to support the channel. Very, very, very big thank you to everyone out there who leaves a comment as well. It helps out with the algorithm. Without any further ado, let's jump right into it. We have had a healthy mixture of news within the space over the course of the last few, I want to say, weeks. Things have obviously turned a corner simply because of the, I want to say, expectations of where the market should be, where prices should be, what should be happening. If you saw recently, we had a bunch of news with people discussing where Ethereum's price is going to be in the next couple of weeks, where it's going to be in about 2 years, and then we recently had one for 2035. We used to, the olden days of crypto, we used to have a lot of like futuristic, this is going to happen on this date in the future, like kind of things. So it's interesting to see those slowly coming back. At this point in the, and I lightly say the words cycle, a lot of people are basically trying to figure out what's the next step for Bitcoin. We, me, you, us, we were told by the time we got to around Q4, quarter four, as the nights got a little bit colder, that we would start seeing, or rather we would see Bitcoin anywhere from 250,000 US dollars per coin to around $500,000 per coin. If you weren't here, that was the news. We got that over and over with the unrare price predictions of Bitcoin going to $1 million this year as well. So it says Bitcoin is significantly undervalued relative to its fair market value. I think we could have all gathered that just from just pure logic. We started talking about that, I think, even last year when we went above the previous all-time high in a number of months, just based off of that a couple of companies were buying Bitcoin. Rumors rapidly began to circulate about prices and where things were going to go. And it seems only logical, at least from my end, if you have, and I say a handful relative to the thousands that could be in the market, if you have a handful of companies, let's say even 200, we had news recently, I think they've purchased, was it $160 billion worth of Bitcoin? That's a huge amount of any asset. And then to kind of be like, remember, this was weeks ago, we were having conversations and a lot of the news was like, is Bitcoin going to stay above 100,000? Can Bitcoin go back above 120? If you weren't here, that was the news a few weeks back. And then to have that conversation after having seen these levels of accumulation, I mean, we've gone over it before. We know that all markets are manipulated. It's not just crypto. But to like see it in real time is like a bit of a kicker, because it's like, okay, at some point something has to give. Things have to reflect more accurately from what we've been told. If you have all these companies who are buying huge amounts of ether, and I mean, once again, there's barely any ether left on the market, like barely any ether left. You have 3 companies talking about they want 5 to 7% of all the ether. You had 16 other companies announcing that they only wanted 1 million ether each. At some point, the price does have to go above $10,000 to $15,000. It's just a matter of when are prices actually going to do it? Bitcoin is undervalued relative to its fair market value. This is according to Matt Haugen, Chief Investment Officer at Bitwise Asset Management, which oversees $12 billion in assets. Speaking in September 2025, Haugen stated that based on current macroeconomic conditions and institutional adoption trends, Bitcoin's price should already be at 200,000 US dollars. Do you remember last year when we were, and this was daily, guys, if you weren't, and I know I keep saying that, it's because we go over news every single day. So sometimes I will see one video got less views than the other. So logically, there will be people who weren't here. I know I say it often, it's for a reason. We started getting news around, was it April or May 2024, that the ETF issuers, BlackRock, Fidelity, etc., they were purchasing about 8 times, 8x, as much Bitcoin was actually being created. So I think it was 900 per day or something like that. I think that was the previous number. They were buying 5, 6, 7, 8x daily, the amount that was being produced. And then we went over in a couple of videos because people were confused and they were like, well, the other problem is that the people mining Bitcoin weren't selling their Bitcoin. You're not mining it just to put it onto the market. These people want it for themselves. This is why they put 100 million into a mining operation. So the coins that are being mined are not hitting the market. Any that are being sold off or being sold to banks. We had that news last year as well. And then you also find out that 8 companies are buying 8 times the amount of Bitcoin created per day. That's a dramatic shortage. I think one day we had, I think it was like a 15x that they were buying more than had been mined. And we were starting to get a lot of, and I mean realistic price predictions last year of people being like, well, we're obviously going to 150,000. Like the market can't keep up with this pressure. That's why I said a few months ago, I said this buying that these companies are doing, it's very sophisticated. How you can figure out how to buy 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 million dollars worth of Bitcoin daily. And then even some days have the price go down. It's really think about it. In any other industry, if we heard that 8 companies got together and they had purchased $160 billion worth of Apple stock, what do you think would have happened to Apple stock's price? If we heard, hey, we are 20 companies, we really liked Apple before, now we're going to start purchasing Nvidia, and we want 5 to 7% of all the Nvidia stock. And you had 8 companies doing that. It's this kind of thing that I think is constantly probably in the minds of a lot of analysts or people just within the space who are like, okay, we know that prices are going to go higher, but when? We see all this activity, we see all this stuff with banks, we see all these institutions. I mean, even just off of the news alone, that there are central banks who are going to be building their new monetary system on top of Ethereum, we should have instantaneously been at $8,800. We had a year's worth of time hearing that 8 companies just within the US, don't even forget that there are other companies around the world who are also accumulating Bitcoin daily. We were going over that recently as well, talking about other ETF issuers. We get a lot of news about the ETF issuers within the United States. There are ETF issuers in Latin America, in Canada, in Germany, in Switzerland, in Singapore, and Hong Kong who also have Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs. They tend to not make the news as often because their purchases are roughly around like individually. So you'll hear that, BlackRock purchased 300 million. Cool. While the other ones are purchasing around 3 million per day. And then people go, well, it's not a lot. Well, my friend, after, 10 days, that's 30 million. After a month, that's nearly $100 million from one company. And then you extend that to a year, that's a lot of Bitcoin being taken off of the market. So yeah, the accumulation is fast and furious, if you will, and it's kind of like we've gotten to the point where everyone's like, when are things finally? But we've also had this before. People are asking, when are things finally going to reflect actual reality? But this sounds exactly like a conversation that we had before during the last bull run and the previous one before that. It's this kind of like loop where these people are able to accumulate as much as they want. And once again, we've never, this is completely unprecedented because we've never had this level of accumulation. And then we all sit here wondering when. Bitcoin's price should already be at $200,000. Even that feels low. I think if we were over 275,000, that seems right on point. I don't know if anyone else has that kind of like feeling or clarity. 200 feels like nonsense. We've had so much happening, so much accumulation, so much attention on this market. If you missed as well, that one of the analysts said, I think this year, whatever the number might be, they're expecting a 3x in the amount of money that has flown into Bitcoin this year. It'll 3x next year. 200,000 is nonsense. 250 is like, okay, cool. We made it over that, that little mountain. Nearing 300,000 is basically where we should be. His comments come amid growing institutional interest in spot Bitcoin ETFs and renewed discussions around Bitcoin's long-term valuation models. This figure sets the baseline for comparing production versus demand. Every incremental purchase above the level puts pressure on the available float. We are still now witnessing a 4 or 5x daily accumulation more than is being created. Because issuance is fixed and transparent, Hogan said the conversation around fair value was no longer about speculative sentiment, but about straightforward arithmetic. Yeah, we've been going over that for how many freaking times? This is what I'm saying. I don't know, like really, how these people are able to purchase this much and once again, still have some days where prices are going down. We should literally be pumping by at least at the bare minimum, consistently 1 to 1.5% per day, bare minimum. And I mean every single day. Yeah. So anyway, the article continues going on. It is what it is. Yeah, we'll see eventually. We've gotten to that time. As I've stated before, here we are. Just about economically the end of the year. I'm expecting crazy, amazing, awesome things to happen next year for crypto. But it's also I always wonder in this market when reality will actually hit, like when realism enters the room. And we can all sit there because, I mean, guys, we should have an $8 XRP. Ethereum should already be over $7,000, $8,000, $9,000. Bitcoin should be nearing $3,000. And I mean, this is before retail even enters the market. We should have some more realistic prices, especially during this unprecedented bull run that we're having. this cycle, the last 2 years, we've never had this much money. And I mean, even just a doubling from 70,000 to 140 would be like, okay, things make a bit more sense. But yeah, that's the Bitcoin is definitely mathematically undervalued news. And yeah, let's move on. Also, I mean, I guess that makes sense. Ripple, the US blockchain firm behind XRP, will be providing custody services to Spanish bank. They're called Banco Bilbao Vizcaya Argentaria. Okay, or BBVA. According to a Tuesday announcement, Ripple's agreement to provide custody services to BBVA follows the bank's recent announcement of its Bitcoin and Ether retail trading and custody service. BBVA will rely on Ripple's institutional custody service to power services to its customers. A few years ago, this became kind of in 2019, it meant almost nothing to the average crypto investor. And I say average as myself. We were worried about adoption, who's buying, price go up, that kind of thing. What these companies began to announce, it was Ripple, it was Coinbase, and like two other ones who kind of like made, they were at the forefront of it, if you will. That basically large institutions would eventually need or want custody solutions. It's meant to be like a counterparty risk or an uncounterparty risk. Basically, you don't want to have an institution doing one thing or everything themselves. So therefore, you would need a custody solution to do this. One company sends the money, one company does this. This is just how the world currently works right now. And as a number of banks over the last few years have been announcing that they're going to be offering Bitcoin and Ethereum, as I stated before, to their normal customers. The only way to do that is for the bank to actually purchase Bitcoin and Ethereum and crypto themselves. You can't offer it unless you have it. So banks, as we know, have also been buying up tons of crypto, which makes it even weirder that prices are still as low as they currently are. So yeah, Ripple created a custody solution. I want to say 2018, 2019, maybe 2020, somewhere around that general time frame. And now we're seeing it put to a lot of use. A lot of people don't understand how great this actually is for the company to be able to be in a position for a gigantic bank and banks to basically come to them and say, hey, we trust you more than we do this company or that company or so-and-so. We chose you to hold our money. It creates a long-lasting friendship, if you will, but with money. Yeah. Not the most exciting news in the entire world, but I did see some people talking about this. We're at the point where, a lot of banks and entities around the globe are beginning to create their stable coins. And they're also looking for a custody solution for many of these things. And a lot of times they will be using Ripple for it as well. Yeah, always a lot happening within this space. There's always something. There's always an institution. There's always a bunch of stuff happening. That is, and as I say, we are quite fortunate to always have a steady stream of good news and adoption and cooperation, if you will, and partnerships. So yeah. All right, guys, I think that's going to do it for this video. I do sincerely hope that you have all enjoyed. I do hope you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting, and I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.